Hey, I'm Rob from JestaThaRogue.com, and this is my top 50 games of all time 2020 edition. Now, my 2019 edition was the best video I did all of last year, no matter what YouTube metric you look at, so no pressure. So same as last time, we're going to do a countdown from number 50 down to number 11, very quick, then I'm going to go into a bit more detail for numbers 10 to 1. But before we start, let's look at the 18 games that dropped out my list from last year. 18, jeez, I am fickle. Okay, so no hour-long videos, no splitting it into a 10-video series, no faff, just bad jokes. Let's go. Okay, welcome to number 50. Number 50, welcome to. Number 49, sounds like a real place, but it isn't. Karuba. At 48, I chose wisely. Archaeology, the new expedition. 47, into every IP, a CCG is born. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer collectible card game. Gone way too soon. Number 46, the collectible card game, Magic the Gathering. Number 45, the game where the bad guys are very dicey. Masmora, the Dungeons of Arcadia. Number 44, never judge a game by its awful cover, Concordia. At 43, the barely pronounceable Teotihuacan City of Gods. Number 42, it's taken 5 years, but I'm finally coming around to it, Blood Rage. Number 41, a quick game that doesn't drag on, Sorrow. At number 40, the imaginatively named Trains. At 39, not a house in New Orleans, Rising Sun. At 38, a game felled in high regard, The Oracle of Delphi. 37, can you feel it? It's Mombasa. 36, into every IP, a deck builder is born, legendary Buffy the Vampire Slayer. At just 35, it's just one. At 34, the newest entry is Marvel United. And with 6 expansions and more plays next year, I'm sure this will rise up the list, or drop out. Based on my record, it'll drop out. 33, a game that puts a feather in your cap, it's Coyote. Number 32 has helmets, rice paddies and butters, it's Samurai. Number 31 is a world of laughter, a world of tears, a world of hope, a world of fears. It's Small World is basically the punchline to that. Number 30, Kick Punch, it's all in the mind, it's the DC Comics deck building game. At 29, I still say yes to Ethnos. Number 28, this game is a riot, it's Mechs vs Minions. 27 is a monumental new entry, it's Monumental. The game at 28 has a box size that has increased 12 times over the last year, it is Hero Realms. At 25, we are all happy to see this one, it's Chronicles of Crime. At 24, it's got a Z instead of an S, so you know it's cool, it's Looters. 23 translates to the big one big box, it's El Grande. For 22, I've got an original copy, not a pirate, it's Jamaica. At 21, it still has 6 tribes, it's 5 tribes. Weaving its way into the top 20 is Tapestry. At 19, you still can't take this game from me, it's Legendary Encounters Firefly. At 18, probably the best racing game out there, Thunder Alley. Although very soon we're going to get Apocalypse Road, which is basically the same game but with ramming and guns. At 17 is up 16 places on last year, which is a mere win, The Resistance Avalon. Blending into 16th position is The Chameleon. At 15 is really fun but is getting really expensive to keep up, that's Marvel Champions. At 14, I'm Leningrad, this is still on the list, it's St. Petersburg 2nd edition. Number 13 is Electric, it's Power Grid Deluxe edition. Number 12 is still World War Fun, The Grizzled. And at number 11, just missing out on the top 10, is Werewords.
Number 10.
But number 10 is a co-op game and my favourite game to play solo. It is Samurai Spirit. In this game you play as beautifully drawn samurai and you are trying to protect a village against beautifully drawn invaders. There's a possibility of getting wounds. If you get wounded, you flip over to your animal side and you become even more powerful. But if you die on your animal side, if any one player dies on their animal side, the game will end. But if you survive 3 rounds of raiders, you win. And because it's so pretty as well, and it looks so nice on the table, it's so simple to play. It is an open information co-op, so if you've got that quarterback alpha gamer in your group, probably give it a miss, which is the only downside to this game for me, really. But I really like it as a solo game. That's my number 10, Samurai Spirit.
Number 9.
When I went to Essen in 2013, one of the best games I played, and I really wanted to buy it and it wasn't available because it was going to go on Kickstarter, was One Night Ultimate Werewolf. I enjoyed that experience so much, and ever since then it's been one of my favourite games, especially one of my favourite social deduction games, until very recently when it was overtaken by One Night Ultimate Supervillain. So this is basically One Night Ultimate Werewolf. We're using an app. Instead of werewolves, it's villains. Instead of villagers, it's heroes. And pretty much the same game. But what they've done is they've taken the best werewolves and the best villagers and turned them into heroes and supervillains. And in my opinion, give a better game. Now, you can't take anything away from One Night Ultimate Werewolf, which is, it's still really good. The problem is there was Werewolf, there was Daybreak, then Vampire, and Alien. I think that's all of them. And then there was the big box, the stupidly big box that doesn't fit on the shelf. And I only take this one now. This is my number 9 game of all time, One Night Ultimate Supervillain.
Number 8.
Now, there are some games that are classics because you play them, maybe you don't play them often anymore, as often as you used to back in the day, but every time you play them you still enjoy it, and this is one of those for me. It is Carcassonne. Just a classic tile laying game where you're playing your tiles, you're trying to create cities and put your meeples in them, you're trying to create roads to score points and connect roads up, you're trying to build fields and line meeples down in fields to do stuff. Oh yeah, playing monks on cloisters, that's the one I'm missing. And yeah, you just lay out tiles, the board builds out as you're playing it looks really nice, and I think most people have played this by now. But it's one of those games that can be easily overlooked, and people are coming into the hobby all the time, so it's always worth asking them. But yeah, really good game, classic, absolute classic, Carcassonne.
Number 7.
So the way I write this list is that I look at my blog, and I go through JestaThaRogue.com, by the way. I go through all the games that I've written reviews of, and I put them into a spreadsheet, and eventually I'll have a list of all the games that I like in a row, in order. I didn't look at last year's list until I finished this year's list. I forgot to put it in my list last year, even though it's been in my top 10 games of all time for the last 8 years. It is Blood Bowl Team Manager, the card game. And in this you have a team, and you're playing your players to these different highlights. And you're playing them to control them, kind of like Smash Up if you've played that. And what I particularly like about this game is not only that there's a ball at each location, so you can use your passing to pick up the ball, and all the characters and all the races, all the different teams have got different abilities, which is great, and you can hire star players, so the star players are super powerful and they're really cool. One of the things you can do is combat. So when you play a player down into a match, into a highlight, if they've got the attack skill, you roll the dice. You're either going to get a hit, which knocks them down, you get a miss, which knocks you down, or you get a blank, in which case nothing happens. Very, very fun game. Should never be forgotten from anyone's top 50 list. Ugh, idiot. Blood Bowl Team Manager, the card game.
Number 6.
Number 6 is right behind me. It is... Oop, that way. Suburbia. And this is the classic tile laying game of building a city, the Sim City in a box, as it's always called, where you're playing these tiles. And the tiles will give you income and reputation. Reputation is going to increase your population, which gives you points. But if you increase your population too much and don't increase your income, you're not going to have the money to sustain your town. So you need to make sure you balance those two things, and also to buy better tiles to give you more income, more reputation. I've got this nice collector's edition. This is really too big, and it's not just that it's too big, it's that it has to go back in the box, in the precise space. I just want to stick stuff in bags and chuck it back in the box like the old game. But when you're building your town up and you're putting all the tiles next to each other, it's just so much fun. It's really good. There it is. Get the original version, not this big box. This is a waste of money. Suburbia.
Number 5.
One thing I've done on my list this year, and on 2 occasions I've took games that are quite similar and I've merged them together into one entry. And I've done that in this occasion, and I can see them over here. It is Starcadia Quest and Arcadia Quest. In Arcadia Quest you get a guild of 3 heroes, and you send them into a dungeon to try and complete missions, and to do those missions you not only need to kill enemies and pick up objectives and things like that, but you also need to kill some of the other players to get points to be able to earn different rewards, and then you're going to progress through a story. It's going to tell a story as you go through. And there's a few expansions for it. You've got the riders, where you've got these big birds that your characters can ride on. You've got these tiny little pets you can get as your little helpers, and they're adorable. And Starcadia Quest is pretty much the same thing, but in space. And you have, instead of pets, you have robots, and there's turrets, and there's aliens, and there's Star Wars rip-offs, and there's all kinds of stuff in there. It's really good, apparently. Don't know, haven't played it yet, because it came during lockdown and I haven't got a chance to play it yet. But the gameplay of it is the same as Arcadia Quest, and Arcadia Quest has already been in my top 10. Because it is really, really only a campaign game. So you have to play 6 games of this campaign. Now, what Starcadia Quest has got is Starcadia Quest Showdown, where you can play an arena combat like a Doom or an Unreal or Adrenaline, if you want to use a board game example. Which means you can use all those bits in the box and you can play the game as it is, just one off, which is cool. But yeah, so I've just put these 2 together for now. I haven't played Arcadia Quest, but I know it's about the same. Maybe it'll replace it in the future, but at the moment I'm including them both. So my number 5 game of all time, joint is Arcadia Quest and Starcadia Quest.
Number 4.
So for number 4, I thought I'd just dress down a bit, stick my pyjamas on, put my dressing gown on, and it wasn't a case of I forgot to record the number 4 entry when I was recording my list whatsoever. No, I would never do that. So my number 4 game of all time is Pina Pirata. So this is basically Uno with extra steps. You have cards in your hand that have different pirates on them, of different animals. And to play a card, the card that you play must have at least one animal on it matching the top animal of the discard pile. If you can't play a card, you draw a card. The first player to get rid of all their hands wins. But what makes this game really good is the rules. So, for example, there might be a rule out that says you may play any pirate and any rabbit. So rabbits are a wild card. If there's a rabbit on top of the discard pile, you could play any card. Now, if somebody wins a round, they draw 3 tiles. They keep 1 as a point, they discard 1, and they put another rule into play. So you have 2 rules into play. There's loads of different rules. Let me get them all out of the box as I talk to you about this game. It's very simple. It is just Uno with extra steps, but there are this many. That's quite a few. It's such a fun game, such a fun, simple game, very easy gateway game, and it's one of those that gets very competitive. So it's really cool. So that is number 4, Pina Pirata. Now I feel like I'm underdressed. I'm going to go back and put my black shirt on again.
Number 3.
My number 3 game of all time is a game I've played a lot. Probably one of my most played games of all time. I have the deluxe edition, I have the special Japanese edition, I have a Christmas edition, I also have a Marvel edition I haven't played yet, but the base edition is the one that everyone's the game is known for, but my favourite version of Love Letter is Batman. So in Love Letter, you take turns, you draw a card, and you play a card, and you activate that card. The goal is you need to knock out your opponents using the card's abilities of the card you discarded, with the goal of being the last one left in the round. If you get to the end of the round, when the deck of cards runs out and there are multiple players still left in the game, whoever has the highest value card left in their hand will be the winner. But what Batman does is that extra rule that just gives it that little something that I really like, apart from also having Harley Quinn in, who is, of course, the best. When you are Batman, when you play a Batman card, which is basically a guard card from Love Letter if you haven't played it before, if you use Batman to knock out a villain from somebody else's hand, you get a bonus point. That is really cool. Love Letter is a game that I really love, but my favourite version is Batman.
Number 2.
My number 2 game is a classic. Again, a game that's been around for ages and everybody's played. If you haven't played it, you should give it a go because it's loads of fun. It is Seven Wonders. Yeah, I've got the first edition. Deal with it. So Seven Wonders is the classic drafting game of building a tableau of cards and using those cards to give you resources to build more stuff. And you've got military, where you can battle the people either side of you for points. You've got science, which are worth a lot of points, and I still don't know how to score it, even though I've played this game a couple of hundred times. And everybody's got a different wonder board, which gives them a different starting ability, and there's expansions that do various stuff. Oh, it's just so good. And yeah, there is a second edition. It does look slightly better, but I don't care. I like my first edition. I've had this forever. I've got the metal coins. I haven't played it yet. But when this video goes out, I would have had the Armada expansion for exactly 2 years and still not played it. Good job there's a decent app. We need Armada in the app. Armada in the app, please. Thank you. Seven Wonders.
And now, number 1.
And my favourite games of all time is the other one on this list that I've combined the entries because I can't decide. They were number 1 and 2 last year. They're basically the same game. You know which ones I'm talking about. I think Gaia Project and Terra Mystica. And Terra Mystica is a fantasy game where you have a different race and you're terraforming different land types in order to build on them, and you're trying to build a route of different buildings to complete different scoring objectives. And Gaia Project, you have a different race as well, and you use your different race ability to be able to move to different planets and terraform them as well, so you can build on them. And there's a few differences with Terra Mystica being mostly wood and Gaia Project being mostly plastic. Terra Mystica being fantasy and Gaia Project being sci-fi. And the biggest difference is Terra Mystica has a boring cult track and Gaia Project has a really, really interesting tech track. All the races are so different. Yeah, there's some similarities between races in here and races in here. That's perfectly fine. It just works really well. It is a mixture of mechanisms that I don't like. I don't like route building. I don't like resource management. But I can never explain it why in these games it just all comes together and works really well. So that's my favourite games of all time. Still, they're quite heavy in more ways than one. Terra Mystica and Gaia Project. So there you go, those are my favourite games of all time. Let me know what yours are in the comments below. Remember to like, share and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at JestaThaRogue. Also Twitch, JestaThaRogue, YouTube, JestaThaRogue, and other stuff, JestaThaRogue. Probably if you type it JestaThaRogue as it is seen on your screen, you will find me somewhere. Remember JestaThaRogue.com is where my blog is. You can see all my written reviews. Make sure you subscribe to this channel because there are lots of cool videos coming up. Now I know 2020 hasn't been a great year for a lot of people, but we can always look forward. Hopefully 2021 we'll see conventions back, we'll see new games, we'll meet new people, we'll play some awesome stuff, and of course I'll release lots of videos, so make sure you subscribe for those. Thanks for watching, stay safe, I'll see you soon.